Okay, so when all the dust settles, what happens next? What happens to this project? What happens to the team? What happens to stablecoins? What happens to the market? I mean, what is the fallout from this, in your opinion?
I think the fallout is pretty negative. I mean, it's not just that I think everybody lost tons of money, but on top of that, this is going to invite a lot more regulatory scrutiny into our space. And I think, being crypto folks, we generally like the idea of, having self-regulation. We think we can handle ourselves. But, with something like this collapsing, you're going to have a lot of retail folks that get hurt and lose their shirts. So, some of them are going to go to the regulators and say, these wrong things were done to me. And then the regulators themselves are obviously looking for good excuses and good reasons to come step in and exert more control over the space. So I think overall, this will be quite negative from that perspective. But what I would say is that better that it happened now than it happened later, at a much larger scale. If UST was, 100 billion and there was 90 billion worth of bad debt, I mean, it would be a lot more devastating than basically what happened, here in these past few days.
Well, you alluded to this, that, Kwon has laid out a plan. He's proposed to increase the burn rate of UST. He wants to find more outside investment, and he also tweeted that as we begin to rebuild UST, we will adjust its mechanism to be collateralized. So it's kind of an admission that their algo stablecoin model didn't work. They're pivoting to become potentially a centralized stablecoin. I wonder what you think of this plan.
At this point, what else can they do? I think it's not a bad plan going forward. It's just a matter of the implementation details. I think at this point, they've really learned their lesson. They're going to try and be as prudent as possible about it, and we'll see how it shakes out. I think, at the end of the day, in order for it to be collateralized, they actually need physical collateral. So I wonder how much of the Bitcoin reserves in LFG, for example, Luna Foundation Guard, is still remaining. Maybe that can serve as a soft floor of what the final value of UST will be. Maybe 30 cents, maybe something like that, really depending on, maybe 15 cents, depends on, how much reserves they have left. And then there's always the question of, well, if they don't have any reserves left, well then, where are they going to get all this collateral? Like, who will actually be paying for this stuff? Will it be financed through selling of Luna itself once things stabilize? Harder to say. And that being said, I don't want to be too pessimistic about Luna because I don't think, what I was saying before is, single tick above zero, 1 penny Luna for most exchanges. I think that's just in the intermediate. I would say that's when UST is still unwinding. It's still going through hyperinflation, still trying to digest this bad debt. Yeah, I think it'll touch that price. But I think, much afterwards, then we're going to see some true price discovery because, at the end of the day, there is some kind of conflict between the UST holders and the Luna holders. The UST guys don't really care about Luna price. They'll, hyperinflate this thing away and exit as much as they can to get as many cents on the dollar as they can. While the Luna guys, I think they have more, Luna holders, I think they're more long-term oriented. They're thinking about, well, now without this kind of algorithmic stable coin, we just have an L1. Maybe that's still, so there's some value there. And we want to make sure that all of that is protected. And then, just transforming the algo stable coin into collateralized one, there might be some value there. So, long story short, I think, Luna, I think, could be more valuable than, 1 tick above zero, but we won't see that price discovery until all the bad debt is digested from the system.
Right. Well, we do see ARCA has doubled down on investing in the Terra Luna ecosystem. That's interesting. But, we got to wrap there, Kevin, but I just really quickly want to ask you, do you think Zhou is going to walk away from this a rich man? Should he go to jail?
I think for the sake of our the history books and for our industry and generally the welfare of our industry going forward, I would say that I think that they tried a very ambitious experiment and it failed. And I think most people along the way had good intentions. For Zhou himself, I don't want to impute his motive. I hope that for the most part they were good. As brash as he is, I hope that for the most part it was good. I personally wouldn't want to see the guy go to jail. That's my own opinion, but I think that that's not left for me to decide. And I think that's for the public to decide, and I think that's for the judges and the jury to decide on that.